player is dangerous. Keep your distance.
Darn tootin' I am. Well, look what we've got here. It's that newfangled Doom game everyone's yapping about. I had put in a request for a review key, but I didn't expect Bethesda to take it seriously. Happy to have been proven wrong. Being able to do this was a goal I had set for myself this year, so crossing it off the list is pretty dang cool. That's all thanks to you guys. Mucho gracias. Alright, enough jibber jabber, let's dive into this sucker. First things first, I want to state that for my own purposes, I consider this to be an elaborate impressions video instead of a full-fledged review. The kind of review that I would make for a game like this would require more time than I have available, but I'll go ahead and give you the TLDR. Doom: The Dark Ages is awesome. Why? Because it's fun to play. It scratches that itch. It overclocks my circuits. It's a great game. Now, did I expect that this would be a great game? Yes. Am I surprised that it turned out that way? No. Am I disappointed by that fact? No. id Software make great games, that's like a given at this point. I did my best to keep my expectations in check, and even then, they were exceeded. So let it be known far and wide that I give Doom: The Dark Ages my seal of approval. End of video, see you next time. Now, I've seen some discourse from folks worried that TDA would be too slow or not as engaging as Eternal was. Hear me now, believe me later. I don't think you have anything to worry about on that front. I played on Ultraviolence and got my rear end handed to me plenty of times. Sure, some of that is down to my own incompetence. I'm by no means a god-tier gamer, but even so, this game's got the juice. I didn't even touch the game speed option, and man, I was sweating at points. If you're looking for a challenge, you will find it. It really pays to learn enemy attack patterns, more so now with the game's parry system, which I found really enjoyable once I got accustomed to it. I think that aspect is what will end up dividing a lot of people. I like From Software's games, so I was already down to clan with parry mechanics. For everyone else, I don't know, you'll either love it or you'll hate it. That said, the game is very customizable, so if you find yourself struggling, there's plenty of options for you to tweak. Id's stated goal with the Dark Ages was to bring the gameplay back to a more grounded feel reminiscent of the classic games. I would say that they succeeded. It's difficult to put into words, but it has a similar rhythm as the original games, if that makes sense. That core gameplay loop of zipping around a map at 90 miles an hour, looking for keys, searching for secrets, all while blasting Hellspawn to the hereafter is alive and well. A big change that this game makes from previous entries is how it handles upgrading. I need to spend more time with it before I'm comfortable giving a definitive opinion, but I think it's a good change, ? It's different, I'll just say that. I will add that it's kinda cool how the more things change, the more they stay the same. If collecting gold and treasure worked in Wolfenstein 3D, then why wouldn't it work here? Arguably the biggest additions in the gameplay department are the mechs and the dragon. These are the game's set-piece pace breakers, if you will, and in that regard, they get the job done. They're very much on the simple side. They don't reinvent the wheel or anything, they just get you from point A to point B. That said, the spectacle of being in a giant mech or flying around on a dragon was done well. For those wondering, there's only one dedicated vehicle level, quote-unquote. The rest of the vehicle sections are peppered throughout regular levels, and they make up the minority of the game's 22 chapters. That's a nice segue into our next topic. I'm purposefully holding back on showing too many of the game's levels because there's some really cool moments that I think you should experience for yourselves. With that in mind, I want to offer you an example of the types of maps that you'll run into. The first type are your standard levels, the kind that you would play in Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal. Nothing too crazy here. We all know them, we all love them. The second type are like a standard level, but bigger and with a lot more open space. These are the maps that are freer with how you approach them. Do you want to tackle the objective on the left first, or do you want to go to the right? That kind of thing. These are by no means open world or open zone maps, they're just big. Some of them took me a good hour to finish, but that's including optional areas and secret hunting. TDA's guns are equally vicious and fun to shoot. Gold stars all around. Every primary gun, aside from the chain shot, has a variant that you can switch to on the fly when the need arises. Combat shotgun switches to super shotgun. Grenade launcher switches to rocket launcher. Some of these have mods that you can swap out like previous games, but unfortunately you need to do that in a menu. While I am bummed that the mod system is mostly gone now, I can't help but feel that each gun is more viable on its own than it has been in previous entries. Doom Eternal demanded that you switch weapons and switch them often. TDA isn't like that. In fact, you can spend a decent amount of time using the same weapon if you want to. Is that going to be the optimal way to play? No, but the game won't punish you as severely as Eternal would, and I think a lot of that is owed to the melee system. Now, as we know, melee combat in the previous games was primarily a means to execute a glory kill or some other type of synced animation. They were awesome, love them to death. However, since there's way more monsters on screen now, you can't afford to keep playing those animations over and over again without it getting tiresome. How do we solve this problem? Answer: executions and glory strikes. Now you can knock out multiple enemies with a powerful melee hit and not get locked into an animation that may leave you in a bad spot. Remember, you've got attacks that need to be parried. You can still have some glory kills here and there to spice things up, but strikes and executions are the way to go now. Okay, fine. Well, what tools do I have to initiate such actions? Well, we've got power gauntlets, flails, and eldritch cricket bats, each with their own pros and cons. Take your pick. This new melee system, along with everything else going on, works really well when you've gotten into the game's rhythm. Everything clicks when you're locked in, as they say. I personally recommend the flail, as it drops both ammo and armor once fully upgraded. In some respects, Doom Eternal went a little overboard with its enemy roster. Like, the gargoyles and mecha zombies are cool, but what are they really adding to the fight? TDA goes about addressing this in a clever way. The roster size for both games is roughly equivalent, but TDA augments its selection with boss variants. Take your Pinky Riders, for example. You've got Standard, Empowered, Essence, and Leaders. Empowered monsters buff those around them. Essence-type monsters are mini-bosses that grant stat upgrades when killed. Leader monsters are like area bosses, and you need to destroy their cohort before you can take them on. They kind of act like a cyber demon or spider mastermind in the classic games. High priority targets. As far as specific monsters go, I gotta give a shout out to the Komodo. I've heard Hugo state that the Agadon Hunter is TDA's version of the Marauder, and while true to an extent, I think the Komodo is the standout enemy this time around. That's just me though. Challenging, but fun to fight, with a great design on top of that. Before we move on, I want to give you a pro tip. Enemies that have a chain gun attack like the Cyber Demon and the Arachnotron have been imbued with the spirit of the Plutonia experiment. If you know, you know. Would it shock you to learn that Doom the Dark Ages looks and runs great? No? Well, good. It shouldn't. I did have an interesting experience with the game when I first started playing it. I didn't have the latest drivers installed at the time, and as a result, I got a blistering 1 frame per second with FSR enabled, along with it being very dark.
Thus the name.
After I got the right drivers installed though, smooth sailing ever since. This game runs phenomenally. No stuttering, no freezing, no game-breaking bugs, solid throughout. That said, I do have a higher-end AMD rig, so take everything I just said with a grain of salt. I did run into a problem where I had to restart a level due to a door not opening, but I was warned of that ahead of time. Hopefully that'll get fixed before launch. The Dark Ages really is a treat for the eyes. It's like the cover art for a Mastodon album came to life. The art team absolutely nailed the medieval sci-fi look the game is going for. Boring old hell portals? Nah, bruh, we've got Oblivion Gates. Praetor tokens? How about the Amulet of Kings? I jest, of course, but I do wonder if prior knowledge of the Oblivion remaster influenced a thing or two. All in all, it's really cool to see the art team flex their muscles in a new direction like this. Everything's got the appropriate mix of high-tech cybernetics or cold cast iron. Take the Revenant, for example. Hands down, the best redesign in the game. What a great idea to turn him into a Grim Reaper. There's some great skyboxes in this game too. Never forego a good skybox. They can do a lot to elevate a level. Another cool thing is the number of destructible objects and interactive clutter. I would very much like to see these features get expanded on in the future. Imagine being able to kill demons by collapsing a building on them like in a Battlefield game. A ceaseless outpouring of gratitude to the UI team for bringing back the status phase. Having it back along with the classic one is the cherry on top. Another thing that I'll mention is that the game is scaled properly for ultra-wide monitors and it looks great. I had to record everything in 16:9, but trust me on this, you won't be disappointed. One wonders what the world would look like if id Tech was an industry standard like Unreal is today. If only. Let me preface by saying that at the time of writing, I have not had a chance to listen to the soundtrack by itself, so my thoughts may change. So what can be said about TDA's soundtrack? Honestly, it ain't half bad. A good chunk of it reminded me of Sonic Mayhem's work on Quake 2, and I do say that as a compliment. That said, I do think it's a bit on the safe side, if that makes sense. There's no BFG division or meat hook that stood out and demanded my attention. Let me put it this way. Finishing Move made a metal album. A very good metal album, but is it a good Doom soundtrack? I don't know. I'm no Anthony Fantano, but I can't help but feel that there's a je ne sais quoi that's missing. Like, it's not as synth-heavy as the previous soundtracks, and I'm a sucker for that. Sure, I've got my own biases to be mindful of. I've been a big fan of Mick Gordon since Killer Instinct. Andrew Holschult pumps out bangers every year, it seems. It just feels like Finishing Move either chose to play it safe or were told to do so. Who knows? I also didn't hear any callbacks to Bobby Prince's work, which is a bummer, but maybe there's something I missed. I'm definitely going to play through the game again with the rest of the audio turned down and see how that goes. Speaking of audio, weapon sound effects and all that good stuff is top-notch as always. The Skull Crusher could stand to have some more oomph behind it, but things like the combat shotgun are just mwah, chef's kiss. Listen to it. And the super shotgun. Oh my stars and garters. It's like you're firing off a howitzer in someone's face at point-blank range.
Excellent.
The rest of the audio design is great as well, especially the Slayer. Dude man sounds like a walking tank. I would not be surprised in the slightest if someone at id looked at Bolt Gun for inspiration. Simply brilliant. I won't get into specifics, but I'll just say that the story does what it needs to. It's not going to win any awards, but at least it didn't leave me scratching my head like Doom Eternal did. Everything's very clear-cut. Bad guy wants magical MacGuffin, and it's up to you to stop him. Same as it ever was. The larger implication of things introduced in the story are what's interesting to me, but that's a story for another time. I'll finish off by saying that there's a really cool moment towards the end of the game that left me with a big ol' smile on my face. You'll know it when you see it. That's about all she wrote for this episode. Big shout out to everyone at id Software for making another great game. It's abundantly clear to me that a lot of love went into this project, and for that, I thank you. Y'all knocked it out of the park. Additional thanks go out to Bethesda Softworks for giving me a chance to play the game early. It was easily my most anticipated game for this year, and getting this opportunity has been a really cool experience. The biggest shout out goes to all of you for supporting the channel. Like I said earlier, this wouldn't have been possible without you, and I don't want to take that for granted. Look forward to more Doom content, as well as other things, in the not-too-distant future. Like and subscribe if you feel inclined, and I'll see y'all on the flip side. Deuces.
They were permitted to aid in the process of Adam's creation. We seek the same.